A message to the President of the United States. The outcome of war cannot be determined by tweets. The result of a war.
The other day, I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report, to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before.
My friends, we may only have 45 hours before this house of cards begins to fall, because Donald Trump just issued a shocking ultimatum to the Iranian government, even for his low standards. This is
okay, the vice president. Why is this important? Because you need the Islamic world to unite against Israel for the end of days, right?
Welcome to the sacrificed.
Devastating flooding ravaging Oahu's north shore.
Careful.
As more than 5,000 people are forced to evacuate. The community, known for its big wave surfing. Kathleen Pahinui had to evacuate her home in Waialua and is in a hotel.
I've lived in my community for over 40 years, and I've never, in all the years I've lived there, ever seen it that bad. It's very scary and it's very, very stressful.
Emergency crews conducting search and rescue operations on the ground and in the air, rescuing 230 people and counting across the island. On the ground, Hawaii National Guardsmen fanning out across the island. Wind gusts up to 45 miles an hour, toppling roofs, downing trees, destruction everywhere.
I just heard like a loud crunching, and then I never knew it was the house, but I learned later that it was.
Here you can see several feet of water washing away the road, making it impossible for this driver to pass. Officials are closely monitoring water levels at the 120-year-old Wahiawa Dam on Oahu. Additional rainfall could quickly push levels higher again, with fear of it failing. The flooding stemming from a Kona storm, a seasonal storm system bringing wind and rain from the west and southwest, which is common this time of year. Officials have reported several serious injuries, but thankfully no deaths. Governor Josh Green saying the storm could cost more than $1 billion, with damage to airports, roads, and homes.
Like in the days after 9/11, we are back to Muslims across the country crying about Islamophobia. It's everywhere. How dare we be afraid of radical Islam? Why in the world would anyone be Islamophobic? Where is that? No, that's not Iraq. It's not Afghanistan. That's Times Square. A few days ago, the crossroads of the world, the place where the ball drops New Year's Eve, which, by the way, would be a violation of Sharia law, playing music and celebrating, if it were anywhere in the Muslim world. Never before have we witnessed a scene like that in the middle of America's largest city. So why would that make some non-Muslims uncomfortable? Why would normal, everyday Americans who just want to go to work and then go home to their families think a scene like that is somewhat threatening? Because no other religion puts the world under constant threat of death and destruction like Islam. Quotes from the Quran repeatedly call for bloodshed. Kill the idolaters wherever you find them. Kill the Jews. Kill the infidels. Right now, we're seeing the results of this once again in cities and small towns across the United States. And of course, as always, the inspiration is the perception of the Western world attacking Islam.
This is the most important war for the world since World War II. This is a war to get to peace. It's a war for peace. World War II was a war to get peace and get rid of the Nazis. This is a war to get to peace and to do something about literal interpretation of the Quran and radical Islam. In fact, one of the reasons that Iran is hitting these other Arab countries, which makes no sense to everyone, is that they believe in the Mahdi. They believe that Islamic Messiah will only come if there is extraordinary chaos in the world. So this is their religious belief. That's
the future. If people want to be naive, then they don't see the kind of world we're living in. In this world, it's not enough to be moral. It's not enough to be just. It's not enough to be right. You know? One of the greatest writers of the 20th century, someone that I admire a lot, was the historian Will Durant. Now, he wrote many volumes. I read most of them. He also wrote The Lessons of History, very brief, 100-page book, in which he said, well, history proves that, unfortunately and unhappily, Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan. Because if you are strong enough, ruthless enough, powerful enough, evil will overcome good.
Strong enough, ruthless enough, powerful enough, evil will overcome good.
Aggression will overcome moderation. So you have no choice. If you look at the world as it is today, you have to be blind not to see that the democracies led by the United States have to reassert their will to defend themselves.
Okay? First prediction, of course, is that the U.S. will use ground troops. Because using ground troops will create a national draft. And what does a national draft do? It creates a civil war. Right? A lot of young people are going to refuse to fight in this war. And this is going to create protests. Then America will have no choice but to deploy the National Guard. And this will create the recipe for a lot of civil conflict in America. Okay? Another thing that will happen is because you use ground troops, you will lose the war, and then CENTCOM, which is the American military in the Middle East, will then transfer over to Israel. Okay? What's happening in this war is that the economies of the GCC are being destroyed, and that's part of the plan. Okay? Because for Israel to achieve the Greater Israel Project, it needs to absorb the GCC and parts of Turkey and parts of Egypt. Okay? So another way of saying this is that the GCC is basically finished. The intention is to collapse their economies and make them irrelevant. Right? The third thing we can expect is that Turkey will enter this war, and Saudi Arabia actually, will enter the war. Because you want to use this war to weaken opposition to these eschatologies as much as possible. Okay? So Turkey and Saudi Arabia will enter this war, and they will suffer tremendously because of their participation. All right. Again, the Al-Aqsa Mosque will be destroyed. Okay? And then you'll have the rise of Persia. Okay? The rise of Persia. Why is this important? Because you need the Islamic world to unite against Israel for the end of days. Right? So you don't mind if actually Iran wins this war, because by winning this war, Iran will activate its Persian identity. And this is important for eschatology because in the war of Gog and Magog, people are interpreting Gog and Magog, which will march against Israel. They're interpreting Gog and Magog to be Persia and Russia. Okay? Okay? Together they will march against Pax Judaica. Number 6 is that in Israel, you will achieve the Pax Judaica and the Greater Israel Project.
Based label, French for fecal matter, okay? I don't know how, I'll see, again, demonic, ugly, disgusting, morbid, all of those things always go together. Their collection, the 1%, a theatrically morbid collection fusing body horror prosthetics, vampiric couture, and blood-stained luxury. The designers say the collection criticizes wealth, power, corruption, and inequality. Somehow I just don't feel like that's what it's accomplishing. This is full screen 32. Okay.
Vampiric couture.
Vampiric
is
couture.
So in right now.
And I guess the point of all of these is not that people would wear this stuff.
Right.
I guess it's, I don't know. Full screen 33. Okay. Scary stuff.
I don't like that.
No. Full screen 34. Again, Marilyn Manson couture. demonic, looks like demons, and then full screen 35. And that's going to haunt you in your sleep at night. We got to talk about Paris Fashion Week quickly, okay? Because this was objectively terrifying, terrible, scary. This happened a couple weeks ago, I think. And let's just go ahead and start rolling those voiceovers of Paris Fashion Week. The stars arriving, showing off their looks. They all look like Chappell Roan and Bad Bunny to me.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. I couldn't tell you. Marilyn Manson.
These are all famous people?
I guess. Okay, so for the audience at home, this is coming from Libs of TikTok. It is just a compilation of all these celebrities dressed basically like demons. Very ugly, grotesque looking. I'm not talking about them as people, but I'm just talking about how they're portraying themselves. That person has a weird BDSM thing going on.
Oh,
that
my
person looks
gosh.
like a dead person. The theme is clearly to be demonic. And I don't know what kind of statement they're trying to make, if it's some kind of critique of society or if they are just the demonic people themselves. But pretty scary. Obviously not about beauty. Now, I don't know enough about Paris Fashion Week to know, is it usually about beauty, or is it kind of like the Met Gala that's supposed to be weird?
Stunned reaction today to President Trump's Pearl Harbor joke in the Oval Office, right in front of Japan's prime minister. He made the crack in response to a question about the Iran conflict.
Why didn't you tell U.S. allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran?
We wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay?
Watch Prime Minister Takaichi's face. Her reaction is subtle but noticeable.
There was some startled laughter, even an audible groan in the Oval Office after that remark. Japan's Prime Minister herself looked a little startled, but didn't say anything in response.
The surprise Japanese assault on Pearl Harbor, as depicted in the 2001 movie, drew America into World War II. The attack on December 7th, 1941, the day that will live in infamy, is still a source of lingering bitterness between our nations, even 84 years later, and despite Japan's current status as one of our greatest allies. In Japan, the reaction to Trump's joke is a mix of scorn and dismay. Japanese scholars and politicians are aghast, says the New York Times.
Anytime you mention Pearl Harbor, it brings up a chapter of history that nobody wants to remember in U.S.-Japan relations. And I think the immediate reaction was, I can't believe he just said that.
So the other day, I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report, to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my texts. So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm not too worried about an actual criminal case against me for a bunch of reasons. One, I'm not an agent of a foreign power. Unlike a lot of people commenting on U.S. politics and global affairs, I have only one loyalty, and that's the United States, and have never acted against it. Its interests are the only interests I care about because I'm from here and I have a lot of kids. So that's not a concern. I've also never taken money from anybody. Don't need it, don't want it, and that's provable. And moreover, it's my job to talk to everybody all the time and try and figure out what's happening around the world. That's literally what I do for a living, and I'm not going to stop doing that. Nor should I don't think. I'm also an American. I can talk to anybody. I have no secrets to divulge. So legally, I think the case is ludicrous, and I doubt it will even become a case. I'm bringing this up for a couple of reasons, though, and they're pretty obvious. One is that countries tend to become more authoritarian in wartime. It's just the nature of war. People are dying. The stakes are high. People's emotions have risen to a very high point, to a crescendo. And so there's much less tolerance for any kind of dissent in the homeland. The irony, of course, is the United States fights wars on behalf of freedom, but there's always less of it here in our country during war. So that's a widely recognized phenomenon, and it's likely to happen now too. Another point to make that is worth knowing is that the USIC, the intelligence agency, spy on Americans. Now, you probably knew that, and it's been revealed a lot, including by Julian Assange and Ed Snowden, both of whom were threatened with death for revealing it, but everyone knows. But it's probably a little more widespread than most people understand, and it's outrageous. There's no justification for your government, which you own, you're a shareholder in it, you pay for it, to be violating your privacy like this. But it happens all the time. And in fact, one of the reasons that CIA or people within CIA, just to be clear, it's a huge, sprawling, disconnected agency. What it does in a specific case doesn't represent what everybody in the building thinks, but there are some people who are mad at me for my views about Israel. And they have some latitude. And one of the reasons they pass on criminal complaints, in effect, to law enforcement is to justify warrants for spying on Americans. So that is an absolutely real thing. But the main reason they do it is to leak the existence of the investigation, such as it is, to the media, and then humiliate and terrify the subjects of this op. And that's, of course, happened to me repeatedly.
קדימה, ביצוע סריקות מהירות לכל הנקודות לדווח.
The Hezbollah leader taunting Israel, even as their rockets rain down around him.
Complicating matters, sandstorms and 100-kilometre-an-hour winds, reducing visibility, disrupting aircraft operations and making dangerous missions even more fraught.
As Israel and Lebanon were blanketed and Gaza, with its tented population, was hammered, the faces of the 6 crew killed in the refueler crash, a likely mid-air collision in congested airspace. Images that will ratchet the political pressure on President Trump over a war with no end in sight.
Have you been briefed about how many Iran sleeper cells there could be inside the U.S. right now?
I have been, and a lot of people came in through Biden with this stupid open border. But we know where most of them are.
It's a thing that everyone's been talking about in this country this week. President Trump saying we know where most of the sleeper cells are.
Authorities recently detected a mysterious encoded shortwave radio broadcast believed to have originated in Iran shortly after the reported killing of Iran's supreme leader on February 28th. The broadcast, a sequence of numbers transmitted globally, resembled so-called number station signals historically used to communicate with covert operatives. Investigators say the transmission could have been intended as a potential trigger for sleeper cells.
Chris, Donald Trump claims Iran has reached out with a peace deal.
Good evening, Sam. That's correct. US President Donald Trump has spoken with our media affiliates, NBC, telling them that he has been approached by Iran with the terms of a peace negotiation, but he's rejected that offer, saying that the terms aren't good enough yet. He also went on to doubt whether or not the new supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei, is even alive.
Windows were shaking, my dogs went ballistic.
Ring video captured their reaction as the choppers thundered overhead. Even in a city known for its military presence, she says this sight was unusual.
When you start seeing transport choppers like that in your area, it makes you pause and go, what's going on?
Think about these Netanyahu AI videos.
I haven't seen them.
You haven't seen them?
No.
Oh, they think he might be dead.
What?
Yeah. There's a bunch of AI videos that Israel has released that are like clearly AI.
What?
Show him the one where there's in the cafe. This one's nuts. Like this one I would assume that some kid made.
Yeah.
Just fucking around on his computer.
All right.
Like I saw it, I was like, there's no way they're really trying to pass this off as an actual video of Netanyahu at a cafe in the middle of the war, like everything is calm and peaceful.
I couldn't tell. Is it that one?
Yeah, this one.
Well,
Well, that's just a clip. Show the actual.
BB.
It's on the Israel website or the Israel Twitter page.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, they released it.
Holy moly.
Yeah,
He's
it's
dead. That's crazy.
Well, his brother's dead. His brother got killed in a missile strike.
Recently?
Yes.
What?
Yes. They struck his house. Are you just not online? What's going on?
I just watch funny shit and goof around.
Pour some of that. Let's
got you,
fucking
baby.
Go. Come on, give me some.
Oh, hey, I thought you quit the sauce.
Oh no, I got back on.
Hey, I think you turned Muslim or something. I didn't know what happened.
Jihad. I'm back.
Hell yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Pour me one.
Easy, Zoran.
So look at this. This is AI.
That's fake.
Well, people have zoomed in on the signs and stuff, and it's not even real writing. And he's saying, "Look, I have 5 fingers."
Weird.
He's joking around, because there was an AI video before that people were criticizing because it looked like one of his fingers had grown an extra appendage.
Right.
I think that just looked like the crease of his hand, honestly, to me.
Yeah.
But this looks fake as fuck. First of all, it's weird because he sips out of the cup, and yet the cup stays exactly the same level, and no matter where he moves the cup around, it doesn't spill.
Right.
Like there's a moment where he turns the cup like almost sideways.
Yeah.
Like, it moves way too much for it to not spill at all.
And why would he just be doing it? It looks like an ad for this coffee shop. He's just hanging out at a coffee shop during a war.
And also, like, how's everybody so casual?
Yeah. He didn't tip, though, so that's the Judaism is coming through. But, yeah, no, this is crazy.
It also looks like AI. Like, he looks like he's got a beauty filter on. That doesn't look like a human being.
Totally.
It's all spiritual, bro. Everything's a spiritual war. Everything's spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's a war, good versus evil.
Yeah.
Humanity versus these fallen angels.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything. Baal worship goes all the way back to the Tower of Babel.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that comes from. Nimrod. That's it, dude. That's why all these headquarters of these major corporations, they look just like the Tower of Babel, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I just have a hard time processing some of like the ancient demigods or demons being connected to modern times. That stuff just sort of like breaks my brain a little bit.
Yeah, because it's so much, and it's like, again,
and it's like also misinterpreting what the really was.
In what sense?
And like, we don't know, like, for example, like, just because there's some deity that came from the ancient Canaanites and we read some Wikipedia translation of what that deity did does not mean that's what the deity was. It's like we're putting this bumper sticker label on what we want it to mean, right? Like, okay, the devil, right? Some people who like rock and roll music think the devil is cool because like it's like an attitude, or it's just like your attitude towards society. You're rebellious or whatever. That doesn't mean you like sucking the blood of babies, right?
Well, I mean,
and there's different people. I've talked to a lot of different like religious experts and stuff, and they all have different perspectives on what different biblical or pagan religion deities were or represented.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like what?
Well, now at 10, it's a startling gaming trend with children sparking outrage for some parents in a Utah school district. That game, 5 Nights at Epstein's. Our Jake White spoke with a concerned parent who wants schools now to get involved.
On Wednesday, parents took to social media asking fellow parents in the Kearns community if they've ever heard of a disturbing video game that her son admitted to playing at school on the laptop that the Granite School District provides. The game?
I think it's disgusting.
5 Nights on Epstein's Island that can be played on several websites for free, inspired by the popular video game 5 Nights at Freddy's. But in this version, you're on Epstein Island with the goal of surviving 5 nights without being killed by not only late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, but other notable figures found in the Epstein files. Not only that, these photos you see here during the game might look a little familiar. That's because these are actual photos of the inside of Epstein's Virgin Island home on Little St. James, released by the DOJ. Michelle Martinez says her child has played the game and is devastated her child now knows something as horrific as Jeffrey Epstein's crimes.
I was upset at the fact that he knew anything about Epstein.
And says her son's school in the Granite School District needs to work on what sites can be accessed on school computers.
Remove computers completely or spend the money and upgrade their technology to prevent these kids from being able to have access to games on their computers.
Granite School District is not the only school district facing this issue, as the game's popularity has spread to schools across the country. With free VPNs and proxies available on school computers, blocking access to certain websites on school computers turns into an almost impossible task, leaving parents across the country demanding tighter internet security at their local schools, ensuring their children are never exposed to disturbing games like this one, especially in their local schools. The Granite School District releasing a statement about the game, saying Granite School District is aware of a national trend involving students who are reportedly able to access an inappropriate online game during school hours. In February, Granite received a concern about this game from one parent, and the district was able to block the website at that time. Since then, the district is aware of only one additional concern specific to our schools that was shared on social media in that instance. The district does not believe this game is being widely accessed in our schools. Regardless, we are committed to ensuring appropriate internet use in our schools, and we have a variety of safeguards in place.
Tonight, after a frantic 3-day search, police recovered the body of 20-year-old Jimmy Gracie from the water off this popular Barcelona beach. His friends tell NBC News this is where they last saw him partying at 3 a.m. Tuesday morning, and nothing seems suspicious. Since then, they've been putting up posters in hopes someone may have seen him.
This is Xoco. It is super popular with young tourists who come here to Barcelona, and I just want to show you how close it is to the beach and to the water here.
Scuba divers, boats, and helicopters have been scouring the area, desperately searching for clues.
We're on the beach now, about 300 feet from where Xoco is, and police tell NBC News that Jimmy Gracie's body was recovered just off the coast this afternoon.
The Chicago area native, a junior at the University of Alabama, traveled to Barcelona for spring break to visit friends studying abroad. Gracie's aunt, Beth Marin O'Reilly, spoke to NBC News last night.
I think everybody would want a brother or a nephew like Jimmy. He's a great kid. He's responsible. He's a leader.
Today, members of Gracie's fraternity, Theta Chi, rallied together. The president of the chapter, who's also in Barcelona, described Gracie as a beloved brother and a man of upstanding character.
And earlier today, Jimmy's family released a statement saying they were grateful for the kindness and concern that people showed their family during this incredibly difficult time, and thank people for holding their family in their thoughts and prayers.
Another breaking story, we're following a man is dead following a shooting in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood. This happened early this morning in the 8000 block of South Hermitage. Chicago police say officers were responding to a call of a person shot in that area, and when they arrived, they found him lying on the ground with a gunshot wound to the head. Police say he died at the scene. No arrests have been made. And now we turn to another developing story. A woman is dead following a hit and run in Chicago's South Shore neighborhood. Police got a call about a woman lying in the street on East 77th. She was taken to a hospital where she later died. Investigators believe she was riding on a scooter when she was hit by an unknown vehicle that then left the area. Anyone with any information is being asked to call the police. Another story, one person is dead, 2 others left injured after a shooting in Bronzeville. According to Chicago police, the 3 victims were outside on East 38th Street when someone pulled out a gun and opened fire. All 3 victims were taken to the hospital, among them a 39-year-old who later died after getting shot in the chest. Another man was shot and is currently in critical condition. A third man, identified as a 35-year-old, only was shot in the knee and is expected to be okay. No arrests have been made.
My friends, we may only have 45 hours before this house of cards begins to fall, because Donald Trump just issued a shocking ultimatum to the Iranian government, even for his low standards. This is truly shocking. If he actually follows through with it, then this really is the beginning of the end of the world as we know it. Okay? So he has basically advised Iran that they need to cease in their blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, or else he is going to take down the entirety of that nation's power grid. And he didn't make any comments about distinguishing between civilian or military power systems, nor did he omit the possibility of targeting the Bushehr nuclear power plant within that country. Now, the Iranians, you would think that that might have shooken their resolve. Not one bit. In fact, they've pushed back even more aggressively. They have stated that if Trump does what he plans on doing in the next 45 hours, I guess, because it was about 3 hours ago when he made the tweet, then they are going to take out systematically all of the desalination plants, all of the natural gas power plants, because 70 to 80% of the Gulf states is powered by natural gas power stations. That includes the power stations within Isreal, oil and gas industry across the region. They're going to go lights out, scorched earth. And we're talking about 45 hours. And the messaging was very unambiguous, and it is very temporally bound. Donald Trump specified that if this doesn't happen to the minute within 48 hours, we are going to end your power grid. And he specified that it would be only a half an hour. Now, is he talking about a cyber attack? Is he talking about an EMP? Is he talking about kinetic attacks? Are there sleeper cells on the ground in Iran? These are all questions that, of course, are going to need answers. This could be something hinting at the use of nuclear weapons in the form of high-altitude, low radiation weapons that could essentially bring down the power grid. And the Iranians are saying, well, we have some secret weapons too that can bring down the entirety of the grid in the same period of time. So are we seeing veiled nuclear threats here, back and forth? I mean, are the markets just going to completely crash next week? And is oil going to go to $500 a barrel?
A message to the President of the United States. The outcome of war cannot be determined by tweets. The result of a war is determined in the field, the very place where you and your forces do not dare to approach, and you can only talk about it in your tweets. It's better to name this war as epic fear instead of epic fury.
It's better to name this war as epic fear instead of epic fury.
Believed to be home to Israel's nuclear facility and the several dozen warheads that Israel is believed to have. Now, in any case, we know that there were several impact sites. One 3-story building has collapsed, and there was a fire that is still being put out. So the damage to several buildings, Rashad, has been described as extensive.
Identity. And this is important for eschatology because in the war of Gog and Magog, people are interpreting Gog and Magog, which will march against Israel. They're interpreting Gog and Magog to be Persia and Russia. Okay? Together they will march against Pax Judaica. Number 6 is that in Israel, you will achieve the Pax Judaica and the Great Israel Project. Okay? So the Greater Israel Project and Pax Judaica are not the same thing, guys. Greater Israel is just basically the territory that the Israelis believed that God had promised their ancestor Abraham. Pax Judaica is a one-world government, okay, based on AI surveillance and the mark of the beast. So what will happen is that Israel will use this war to expand its territory, and then what will happen is that capital, technology, will then start to flow to Israel in order to create the Pax Judaica. So think of companies like NVIDIA, Oracle, Microsoft, Google. Well, they'll probably transfer themselves to Israel, because that is where the power will rest. Okay? So Pax Judaica. Then you will have Russia winning the war in Ukraine. Okay? And then return Greeks to Constantinople. Basically, another way of saying this is, it is possible that the Greeks go to war against Turkey, and then Russia supports the Greeks and return the Greeks to Istanbul, okay? But then you're like, wait a minute, Turkey is a NATO member. Well, we can also expect destruction of Europe, okay? The end of NATO, basically. So, this war in Ukraine, it's not just about Russia protecting its borders. This war in Ukraine is also meant to achieve Orthodox eschatology, to destroy Europe, to destroy NATO, so that Russia can achieve the third Rome prophecy. That means the destruction of Europe.
We didn't ask for this war. Yes, we lobbied the United States to not go and launch this war, but at the end of the day, Iran is the most destabilizing country in the region and the world.
What would it take for Saudi Arabia to get into this fight?
Yeah, there's no one clear-cut answer. If the Saudis would decide to enter with complete force with regards to this war, Iran is definitely going to be the biggest loser, because Saudi Arabia will activate its bilateral defense agreement with Pakistan, and it will rally the Arab and Muslim world. The last thing we want actually is to enter this war, and we want a political solution by any way.
You mentioned a bilateral relationship with Pakistan will get triggered.
Yeah.
Pakistan is a nuclear nation.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, and we have this agreement right now with Pakistan. It's a mutual defense agreement, and there is, like we can say it literally, that there is a nuclear umbrella over Saudi Arabia, a Pakistani nuclear umbrella over Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's some warning to Iran.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I think the rational people within Iran, if there aren't any rational people, they think and they know that Saudi Arabia should never be in war with Iran, because it's going to be literally devastating for the Iranian region.
Something we heard, slight suggestions out of Iran, that maybe there will be conversations with Gulf states. When you hear something like that, what do you think?
Some sensible conversations is almost impossible, specifically right now, because Iran, as we know, is considered to be a headless country right now. Yes, they have the new supreme leader, Mujtaba, but nobody knows his fate. Nobody knows if he's actually really in charge or not. We consider the United States to be our main strategic ally, friend, and partner, but despite that, we have actually asked the United States to not target Iran from our territories, and we actually lobbied them for not even launching this war. And the response from the Iranian regime, firing missiles, ballistic missiles, drones. The Iranian regime knows that it's a troublemaker, and it wants to deliver and intensify the idea to the region and the world that it is a troublemaker. So we have to deal with that with some sense, with some restraint, and also with some decisiveness.
Is to leak the existence of the investigation, such as it is, to the media, and then humiliate and terrify the subjects of this op. And that's, of course, happened to me repeatedly, many times, including in famously 2021, when I was still at Fox News and trying to set up an interview with Vladimir Putin. And the NSA, I heard from someone there, had grabbed my text messages with an American citizen and had leaked them to news outlets. Those texts were basically my attempts to set up an interview with the foreign head of state, and they leaked them to the New York Times in order to stop the interview, which they successfully did, by the way. And they admitted that they were spying on me. This is not a fantasy. It actually happened. They did it again 2 years later. My second attempt to get a Putin interview, I managed to get it anyway, and they've done it since. And so when you get a call from a reporter who knows the contents of your texts, it's pretty clear something's going on. None of this, in my judgment, as of right now, is a huge threat to me, so I'm not making this video to complain about it or whine or ask you to send me money because I'm under attack. I'm saying it because it's true, and you should know what your own government is doing, and you should know what the stakes are. And you should know that a lot of what happens in this country that affects outcomes happens behind the scenes. Some of it is legal, some of it is not, including what I'm describing now. But it has an effect. And the intel agencies, again, not everyone in the intel agencies, because there are decent, hardworking Americans who work in the intel agencies are Americans, just like there are decent, hardworking Americans who work at the DMV. But there are also people with agendas and grudges and no sense of restraint who are happy to misuse the power they have, granted them by our elaborate secrecy laws, to hurt fellow Americans for ideological reasons. That is entirely real. That's the story of Russiagate. And it's likely that things like that will begin to happen at greater scale now. So you should just know that going forward. Thanks.
It's a war with impacts being felt around the world. Just over 2 weeks ago, the US and Israel attacked Iran and killed Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. It was the start of a regional conflict that's continued to increase in scale and severity. Airstrikes have killed hundreds of people and displaced millions more. Gulf nations have come under unprecedented attack, and global energy markets are facing increasing uncertainty. A new round of airstrikes have hit the city of Isfahan in central Iran. Large plumes of smoke were seen rising from the city on Sunday morning. A military plane has also been seen flying ahead. The region was heavily bombed on Saturday, with one airstrike at a factory killing at least 15 workers. Now, Tahid, just talk us through the Iranian threats on Gulf nations. There has been, talk of those threats being, coming down in nature, calming down in nature, with the missiles not flying over Gulf cities. But there also has been strong talk of using America. If any base was used, an American base was used, it was a fair target.
Sami, of course, since the very beginning and even before the initiation of these strikes, Iran said that in case of a U.S. attack, there is going to be repercussions for regional countries, and there's going to be a possibility of regional war. A full-fledged, all-out scenario for the entire West Asia was something that Iran already talked about in case of an escalation.
But that was a strategic miscalculation, because now we are seeing the Gulf states, for the first time in our lifetimes, willing to work alongside Israel and the revival of a possible Abraham's Accord 2.0. So if we collectively as a coalition can maintain the pressure on Iran and ultimately a regime change happens, we are going to see a completely different Middle East. But this is, to your point, always been Iran's playbook: cause economic strain to the world when they can't fight state to state.
A woman charged with murder after police say she took abortion pills, gave birth, and the baby died. I'm Ben Becker.
I'm Tanika Hughes. She was arrested by Kingsland police last week. Action News Jack's Madison Foglio spoke with legal experts about how a case like this could play out.
Georgia has one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the country. The Life Act essentially deems a person alive once they have a detectable heartbeat, even before birth. But according to Kingsland police, in this case, a woman gave birth to a baby that lived for about an hour. According to the arrest report, 31-year-old Alexia Moore took 200 milligrams of misoprostol, which is a drug used to have an abortion. The report says Moore took it before she was transported to Southeast Georgia Health System Hospital in Camden County. The arrest report states she gave birth to a girl and the infant was, quote, premature and having major health issues. The report says Moore wanted to leave the hospital after she attempted to abort the child herself. This was in December. She was arrested last week and charged with murder.
In order for someone to be charged in murder, in a sense, the elements are something was done intentionally, a criminal act, which then resulted in a human losing their life.
Chris Carson is a criminal defense attorney in Jacksonville, Florida. I asked him what factors would be considered for these charges.
For the most part, what the legal analysis will be looking to is whether the fetus is considered to be a human and whether there was an act that was done which then resulted in the death of that human.
No one should be criminalized for ending their own pregnancy.
Florida State Representative Anna Escamani used to work for Planned Parenthood. She says banning abortions is not the answer.
Banning abortion does not actually end abortion. And though abortion medication is overwhelmingly safe, it's a lot safer if you can take it with the guidance of a medical professional.
Now, Moore is in jail without the option for bond. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how far along she was in her pregnancy when this all went down. I also reached out to Attorney General Chris Carr's office, and I asked whether or not this is the first woman charged for murder for taking any abortion medication. I'm still waiting to hear back.
The city of Daytona Beach is declaring a state of emergency starting tomorrow. This comes after chaos erupted during the start of spring break last weekend. With more unsanctioned events expected this weekend, city officials are working to keep the beaches safe. West 2's Pamela Combe explains the youth curfew and what locals have to say in response.
After thousands of people flooded Daytona Beach for an unsanctioned event last weekend, leading to chaos in parts of the city, leaders voted to take action. Some locals are welcoming the city of Daytona Beach's new curfew for anyone under 18.
I think that's pretty awesome. I think we definitely need that. That should actually be in place all the time.
Starting Friday and for the next 7 days, all minors will have to be at home by 8 p.m. until 5 a.m. the following morning. The curfew applies only within the special event zone stretching from University Boulevard to Silver Beach. This curfew won't apply to minors who are with their parents, who are playing in their front yard, or going to and from work. In the meeting, Police Chief Jakari Young says he has more ideas for future years on how to get the crowds under control, from placing an age limit on Airbnbs to requiring mandatory security guards at bars. But he says it's up to the city commission to decide how strict they want to be, giving examples of what other cities are doing during spring break.
So Miami Beach just flat out said, "You are not welcome at all. We don't want you here. Everything's shut down." Panama City Beach is looking at managing it, but zero tolerance.
The city's hoping this curfew helps reduce the crowds. All agencies are still preparing, including beach safety, because the massive crowds increase the number of calls that come in.
Inside of those big groups, we'll have smaller units staged so we can respond quickly. We do have an established emergency lane that we try and traverse throughout the day to keep people out of, but with that many people, it's difficult to get through in an expeditious manner.
Developing now, a man is dead after shots were fired during a funeral on Indy's near northeast side. The police report lists 2 other victims. CBS 4's Gabriela Mirando talked to one of them today, who says the shooting is just another tragedy his family is dealing with.
Dion Hart Jr. was prepared to lay his father to rest Saturday morning.
Very stand-up guy, would do anything for you. Honestly, he had a big heart.
He wasn't prepared to get shot in the process.
It's just senseless. Every day that we're going through the same thing.
Hart, who didn't want his face on camera, was shot in both hands. The police report lists 2 other victims, one of whom died. IMPD says a disturbance outside of Antioch Fountain of Grace Baptist Church led to the shooting Saturday morning.
I hope it was all worth it. Whatever was going through your mind between you and the other individual this morning, to do it during a family gathering, a service, to try to put somebody to rest is just uncalled for, and this shows what type of empathy and emotions that you have as a human being for not trying to respect and honor the other people's families that's trying to lay him to rest properly.
Pastor Clyde Posley Jr. says he's experienced this kind of violence at other churches, but never his own.
My church has been in this community over 60 years, and it's 140 years old. We open our doors to families to have funerals because we see ourselves as a community church. That was insulted today.
IMPD has no one in custody as of Saturday morning. Officials and the Hart family alike hope this is a wake-up call to stop these random acts of violence.
You've heard us talk about conflict resolution before, but wanting to do this outside or inside of a church or around a church for that matter is certainly disturbing.
This is something that just really needs to stop, honestly. It's getting old. Everyone's getting tired of it. The senseless acts of killing.
Hart says while he's still processing the shooting, his family is already planning to host another funeral to give his dad the proper service he was denied.
Prometheus.
Yeah.
Prometheus and Lucifer have the same exact story.
Yeah.
Identical stories. Prometheus is the guy in Greek myth who saved humanity from Zeus and then got chained to the top of the mountain for eternity to die every day. So like you could easily connect. Like those two are the same exact story. So the devil is the one who saved humanity, and Zeus is the one who tried to kill us all. So that's where my wires start to get crossed.
I understand what you're saying, and that's a great point. But so, do you believe in the fallen angel story?
Believe in it? I don't know.
Because if you study, again, if we're going back to philosophies and religions that predate the Abrahamic religions, Vedic astrology, Hinduism,
right?
Okay, they both talk about God casting down entities trapped down here.
Yes.
Okay,
right.
So it's not just an Abrahamic thing.
No, yes, I know. I believe. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So the question becomes:
there's something weird there. I don't know what it is.
And when you go to Bohemian Grove, there's a giant owl right there, and the weird happening there. So whether it is the real story or not, these people are worshiping a narrative.
Yes.
And then we got to go, were the Canaanites sacrificing children? Were the Israelites sacrificing children? Did they take pagan gods? Is that why they were cast out of Israel? Like that's the question you have to ask. Are those stories true? And then you take a look at like the Nazis and how they were just consumed with the occult.
Yeah.
And finding all these both Christian and occult symbolism, trying to find all the thing that they stabbed Jesus with. Like they were consumed with that. Find the covenant. They were consumed with that. That's what they did. So I understand what you're saying, and we could get really lost in the hysteria of that.
Yeah.
But there seems to be recorded history, which says a lot of this stuff is happening.
No, acostumbrándonos, no hay quien se acostumbra a eso. Yo vivo en el piso 17 de este edificio y es bastante difícil salir, regresar y saber que tengo que subir 17 pisos y cuando llego no hay agua porque no ha habido corriente en todo el día. O sea, es bastante difícil. Pero además, si usted sube con una mercancía, con lo que usted tiene que cocinar, que tiene que comer, también es bastante difícil, no crean.
No es el apagón nada más, no hay agua, no hay luz, no hay gas, porque no hay agua porque no hay electricidad para empujar la turbina de los motores. No hay electricidad, no hay comida, no hay petróleo, no hay combustible, las MIPYMES con los precios caros, porque ahora todo sube porque ellos transportan sus mercancías en transporte, en camión y eso, y todo esto está malísimo.
Cuba is once again in the dark again this morning after a nationwide power outage for the third time this month. Officials say the island's electrical grid collapsed yesterday after a failure at a major power plant triggered a cascading system breakdown. Crews are now working to restore power, with some electricity being routed to hospitals and other critical services. The blackouts come as Cuba struggles with aging infrastructure and severe fuel shortages made worse by U.S. oil blockade. Outages like this have become more common, with many Cubans already dealing with hour-long daily blackouts.
I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth?
Mr. Deputy Foreign Minister, what was your reaction to hearing that? Is Cuba bracing for the United States to take it in some form?
Truly, we don't know what they're talking about, but I can tell you this: Cuba is a sovereign country and has the right to be a sovereign country and has the right to self-determination. Cuba would not accept to become a vassal state or a dependent state from any other country or any other superpower.
No, we are waiting for them.
You were waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
No, we are waiting for them. You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops? Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
I was told that if I voted for Kamala Harris in 2024, terrible things would happen. You know, grocery prices would go through the roof, nobody'd be able to fucking afford anything, and we'd be at war within a year. And it looks like they were right. I voted for Kamala Harris in 2024. 77 million of you window-licking, bigoted pieces of shit. We're not smart enough to do the same, and now grocery prices are through the roof, nobody can fucking afford anything, and we all just watched a demented septuagenarian do his best Lord Farquaad impression talking about some of you may die as he drags us into a war that is, by his own admission, without congressional approval. So I ask you this today, MAGA, how you fucking feeling? I hope all you MAGA chuds that never shut the fuck up about he's the president of peace and we can't have a woman president, she might start a war on her time of the month, are ready to go die in the Middle East for a president who started a war so we'd all forget that he's best friends with a bunch of fucking pedophiles. Excellent work, dumb fuck. I'll leave you with a quote from the president that you love to support. Our president will start a war with Iran because he's completely unable to negotiate. He's weak and ineffective. I'd tell you to think on that, but you have clearly been spared the burdens of intelligence. So instead, I'm gonna tell you to get fucked.